to the Joe Dorgan Show. My name is Joe Dorgan.
And I'm Eddie Alcala.
And today we're going to talk about all kinds of things. We're going to talk about the creation of Club 101, and I couldn't think of anyone better to start episode number 1 with the man that was involved in Club 101, E9, Area 51, Metropolis. Did I forget any of them?
The Las Cruces one. What did we do in Las Cruces?
Oh, yeah.
Planet X.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Planet X.
How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you. Thank you
Man.
for inviting me and having me be on your first podcast. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And, you know, people every week on a weekly basis says, I'd be rich if 2 questions were answered, like, I had a fake ID to get into your club, and hey, do you know where Eddie is, or what is Eddie doing?
Yeah,
everybody wants to know how you're doing.
I'm doing good, thank you. I'm keeping myself busy. That's all I'm going to say. I'm an interior designer now, and I pretty much saturate myself with work. But
you're the best at that. I mean,
I appreciate that.
So, you know, there's new people finding out about Club 101, you know, and so how did you get started at Club 101? You want to tell them how?
Yeah, what's really funny is I never wanted to go inside Club 101. I would go to support my friend, Paul, because he had just gotten a job at Club 101. I had been there for your first New Year's Eve ever with a girl. Her name was Tawana, and I thought it was a great thing, but I really didn't want to be part of anything like that, to like go there on a weekly basis, because I knew I was going to get hooked. So what I would do is I would go and I would listen to my friend Paul DJ, Paul Kish. I would sit outside of the club, and you would come out every once in a while, and you'd be like, "Hey, are you sure you don't want to come in? You know,
What's
it's pretty fun. Why are you sitting out here? You know." You probably thought I was a vagrant or something. I was, you know, asking for people for money or something. But yeah, I just didn't want to come in, and I had a fun time just listening to the music outside.
I thought you brought Paul into 101.
No, Paul actually brought me.
Oh, wow.
But again, it was one of those things. And after a while, I just thought to myself, God, this guy just keeps asking me, like, I don't know why. So then I finally, on one of the times that you asked me to come in, I came in, and I was familiar based on what I had seen with, you know, when I went for New Year's Eve, and I actually started having a good time. And then one thing next led to the next, and I asked you if I could work there. And you said you would give me a job as a floor walker. And
no way.
Yeah, and everything started from there. But I was grateful. I mean, you know, I was like going around. The good thing is I wasn't an alcoholic that I would just pick up the bottles and maybe start drinking. But yeah, I had a fun time, you know, walking around the club, picking up stuff. And where I really hated it was when I had to clean the girls' bathrooms. But at the end of the day, it was my job, and I loved what I was doing.
I thought the men's was the worst going in there.
Actually, the women's. I won't get into any details because I can paint a pretty bad picture.
That is so true. But I mean, you just evolved into the manager and general manager when you're running all of them. I mean, when you think of 101, you think of Eddie. Like nowadays, everybody talks about customer service or giving added value. Eddie was ahead of his time, and it was mijo, mija. You were hugging people. You made people want. It was like Cheers. You wanted to come to Club 101 because Eddie was going to be there.
Yeah, you know, I think if people never went to 101, I think they missed out on the biggest. It was something that just will never, like, there will never ever be anything like that ever again. And it's the people just made it what it was, you know. And eventually the staff started getting into what we were evolving to. And we had to be grateful to those people because not only were they paying our bills, but in the end, it was what made Club 101 what it was, you know, along with you and all of your history with, you know, the music and everything you did. I thought it was just the perfect combination of everything that could have come together at the right time. And it did.
I mean, Eddie was on the microphone. I mean, he was the MC of the night, and we like Club 101, the only place to be. You know, I mean, I think a lot of people thought you were the DJ because you were the personality.
Yeah, I kind of upset Paul and Caesar a lot because they had no choice at some point, because I was just hoarding that mic. And I would carry the cordless mic around with me every once in a while, and I would talk over their mixes, and they would get really upset. But I had such a great time. I'm very appreciative to you, by the way.
Oh, likewise.
For taking that chance, for giving me that chance, because it just became it was just, I can't explain it.
I mean, it was kind of the misfit club. I mean, we always were looking for the alternative people that didn't fit in at their school or other. I mean, you had hired some people that, you know, have gone on to do really well. I mean, hopefully we'll have him on the show, Jake Baca. I mean, he was just a kid and a clean-cut kid, and all of a sudden he's all tatted out. And,
yeah,
and he's done really well. I mean, he's done a barbershop
well.
and things like that.
Yeah,
but you hired these people.
Yeah. You know, the great thing about a lot of the people that worked at Club 101, I really felt that they had to add to what we were. And at no point, I think that we looked for people that were part of the system like at other bars. I looked for people that had individuality, that were going to make or going to be a character to our plot, to the big picture of what 101 was. And I mean, we had beautiful girls to great looking guys to, you know, tall, skinny guys that eventually became part of the backdrop of what 101 was. I mean, there was just, nobody was alike, you know, and even the bouncers, all the bouncers had their own identity.
Right.
And
no, I agree.
I could go back and forth about a lot of these guys, but yeah,
like
we just
now,
had great people. I mean, we really did. And the cool thing about it is they felt they were part of something awesome.
It was a we thing. Definitely.
It was definitely a we thing.
It wasn't me, and it was, I mean, but you were the leader of all of this. And, you know, we were talking about it earlier. I mean, some of these places, there's no identity. I mean, like there's a bunch of TVs going on with sports, and there's no face at the bar. There's nobody greeting you. It's just.
Yeah, you know, and that really bothers me. And I think because we set that foundation, I now go to businesses and I look at how staff or how people tend, you know, they bartend or they give customer service, and there's just nothing out there really that grabs my attention, because you can't just start a business and put somebody in the forefront and expect them to have the same passion as the owner, you know, and that's why you have to be very careful who you put in these positions to.
But you made them feel really special. I remember, you know, people were talking about, oh God, these people have bad attitudes, and we don't want that attitude to come to the club. And you turned it around and said, hey, if you don't have an attitude, we'll give you one at the door.
Yeah,
it was.
definitely.
You said 101. It's all about the attitude.
You know what's really cool is that we ended up becoming. So I go to the tap and I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone, because because you see you see these old women drinking with these young guys. Not that we had like old women, but what I'm saying is you just saw the oddest crowds come together, and that's what was at 101. You would have suits. I mean, you'd have people going in there with suits and nice dresses, and then you had the goths, and you had the punks, and it was just the oddest mixture. It was almost like people had died and gone to Club Heaven, and we were all there like intermixing with each other because it was such a cool setting. I mean,
but it was about attitude, because there were the mainstream clubs like Graham's and Dallas and big, huge clubs with their 2-cent drinks and whatever.
Right.
And we didn't care, because we wanted to play the best music, and we took care of people.
Yeah, we really did. And you were, I mean, like I said, you're such a great part of the music scene in El Paso. And for that to become the pinnacle of everything you've ever accomplished with all of the previous clubs you did, I mean, I think that was like a great achievement for you to have that vision to go down there into to this area, to come down into this area when there was no like, we weren't on a traffic, we weren't in a busy intersection.
We weren't on Mesa.
Yeah, we weren't anything. I mean, you had to literally, this had to be your destination.
Right.
There was nothing else around in this
People thought
area.
we were crazy. What are you going down? There was no clubs. Well, okay, there was the OP. And there was another thing. I mean, the OP was this legendary club. And, people like, we were very competitive. Like, oh, the OP plays the best music. We're like, bullshit. We do.
Right.
We have, they have Halloween, this bullshit.
But I don't know if you remember, everybody was coming after 101. So
everybody.
The new OP opened up and they had somebody design it very industrial to try to cater to the same crowd that we had. It was just it was the craziest thing. And I'm like, well, why don't you just, I'm thinking in my head, why don't you just concentrate on what you're doing and not be envious of what we had?
I thought they were always chasing the Realm because the Realm was going to be the biggest club, but a lot of respect to Bob at the OP. I liked the original one.
Right.
The new one was
I love
nice.
that place.
But, and Eddie, like the OP, people, the parties, the Madonna birthday party where you brought in this huge bed. You had this couple in bed.
Yeah, I remember that. Those were the, oh, geez, now I can't remember. But anyways, I brought in this queen-size bed. I tilted it facing the dance floor, and we had at midnight. So we had Freak Show Fridays. Do you remember that Freak Show Fridays?
Yeah.
We had Freak Show Fridays where every Friday we would feature something cool and innovative, because we were trying to build up our night. So our big night was Wednesdays and Saturdays, but so I did this thing, Freak Show Fridays, and at first, you and Lucinda were like, "Oh, well, is it really? Do you think it's gonna work? Because we kind of have to focus." And I said, "Well, let's just give me a chance." And I'm just completely grateful because
we went with all your ideas. So
no, I appreciate
was that the shadow show?
Yeah, that's where the shadow show was. That's where the showers were.
Oh.
I remember. I don't know if you remember. I put showers.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. But the shadow shows, you got this guy that was a great dancer, and he did a Madonna thing. So like when the lights were on, he had the cups.
So
then he could turn into a guy, like and people wanted to get behind the curtain to find out who that was.
Yeah, so the curtain, so there was a light hitting him. So there was a curtain in front of the stage, and then there was a light hitting him from behind. So when he was dancing, all that you could see was his shadow on that curtain, and people were just mesmerized because nothing else was going on like that.
It was amazing, and then was it Cadence did the shadow thing above?
Oh yeah,
and then the basement tried to do it.
Right, but they took it to a different erotic level that it was just not tasteful. But anyway,
yeah, I understand.
Yeah, but it was just so.
But the shower show,
the shower show is
God,
really cool.
I mean, you're like, we put them on the opposite end. We had this muscular guy, and then we had this good-looking girl.
So I would switch them out. I would either have two girls in the shower or two guys in the shower. It was very controversial. Or, then we had the guy-girl set up.
And then the strobe lights hit the water, so it looked like beads just... And I remember there was girls that wanted to get into the shower with the guy you had. It was crazy.
Yeah, people were willing to take that chance and go into the shower, take off their clothes, and be in the showers. It was such a great time.
We made so much noise. I mean, places open nowadays, and it's just like, what are they doing? But...
Right. There's no attitude behind anything that opens up these days.
Yeah.
There's no substance. There's nothing really. I mean, if you're going to open a business, you really have to have a vision to what you're going to do. And at the end of the day, it's not just renting a space, putting in a couple of things, turning on some music or serving some food. I mean, everything from the staff to your presentation with your food, with the people's attitude and how they serve the customers. That's just so important. And people don't get it. They just don't get it. I will literally get upset, and I'm very outspoken, but I have to kind of stay quiet so I don't get my food spat on or whatever in the kitchen. So I just kind of bite my tongue, when I go to these places.
Yeah, we had a lot of competition that would, and I remember people would walk in and go, yeah, we're going to open this new place and we're going to take the 101 crowd, and we're like, bring it.
Yeah, it wasn't going to happen, because again, we had such a unique product. It was just so untouchable. It really was.
Oh no, I totally agree. We had our signature Wednesday and we had our signature Saturday. So we had fun on the Friday. I don't know if you remember the downstairs parties.
Yeah, am I allowed to talk about those?
Yeah. Nothing. it's. I mean, so we were trying to build our Fridays, but you had these glow in the dark steaks and.
Yeah, the cool thing about that is it was such a like a seedy basement. It had this feel like it was somewhere like in Europe, and we had dancers down there that were dressed up. I don't know if you remember when I had the girls wearing the nipple tassels.
Yeah.
But we were only letting certain people down there. We wouldn't let everybody down there.
Yeah, there was a secret pass, but that the night I remembered it was done is because the word was getting out, and the fire marshal showed up, and I just was happened to be at the door, and I just closed it and put the lock there. What's going on downstairs? Nothing, sir. It's just storage. Are you sure? Yes, sir. Would you like to see it? No, we're good. You told us, and it took off.
Yeah,
that was the last night. Well, but it was fun for 6 weeks.
Yeah, well, we would. I don't know if you remember, we would do it in sporadic because once we felt the heat coming, then we would kind of back off of it.
Yeah,
but it was something kind of unique that people would look forward to, especially some of our regulars that we really liked taking care of.
But we were all about safety because
completely.
My uncle was in the fire department. My grandfather was a fire marshal. We had fire extinguishers. We had enough security and stuff like that. But it was just
and for what it's worth, I mean, at some point, if we felt that something was not going to be safe, we wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But the really cool thing about everything that was being done at 101 is it just led to different levels of creativity that we were just doing that nobody else was. I mean, that led to the alley. I don't know if you remember when we closed off the alley and I made the ghost town.
Oh my God!
Where we then had we had concerts out there. We had the bartenders.
We had 311 Corn play out there, and they were like this ghost town. And then we had the Thrill Kill Cult show. Oh my God, we had Fugazi. Yeah, we had some amazing. Yeah, but everybody saw that ghost town that you'd put together.
Yeah, and so the sad thing is that at some point, I guess they sold the properties, or I don't. Do you remember what happened?
Well, we were getting so much attention. Pat Goff, great guy. He wanted to make that an entertainment district, so there was a lot of attention. So then we were the only thing down there. So our landlord had put fences to close up these alleys just for protection. So we used it as a patio. We got a drawing for the TABC, and we were
right.
But then when we got so much attention, they wanted those gates to go.
Yeah, complete. I remember now.
And nowadays, I mean, we couldn't. Whatever we put out there at night, we had to bring back in, which was
that was.
We paved the way for this area now.
Yeah, completely. I mean, so 101 was like the stake in the ground for this whole entertainment area that is now what it is,
Right.
And then that led to other things with the development of the area. Like they tore down all that housing where the big parking lot is now. And then the city started concentrating efforts into creating this area so that it became, again, what it is now.
Well, then, city officials said, oh, it's construction, it's growing pains. No, it was killing us.
It really was, because it started cutting off all the roads coming to 101.
Yeah.
Which, that's, if you really look at businesses and understand business, that's what happened to a lot of businesses when, the trolley came in and they started closing up roads, and it cut off the main arteries to a lot of people.
They had this great drawing from UCLA about making it like Westwood organically, but the city didn't want it, and they had all these other studies. And there was a study where it showed these 16 feet wide sidewalks, San Francisco one-way street, and then they showed a baby stroller where the building is 101. So I'm like, I knew the writing was on the wall. We were out of there because they wanted it something else. And we were this alternative club.
Right.
So you remember the night before Thanksgiving?
That was like our big Super Bowl. That if we were to plan for anything else, we would plan for that night specifically, because it was just
Yeah,
All
but
people, hey, it was like it rained people on Club 101 like I'd never seen throughout the year. Even we had busy, so our Halloweens were good, our New Year's were good, but when it came time to Thanksgiving, forget
we
it.
started that.
Yeah, completely, where people would look forward to
Coming into town
to come to Club 101.
Now, Halloween, we were talked about all about attitude. We instituted no costume, no entrance.
Right.
So like people are like, what do you mean? Can you give me a mask? No, got to go. Because nowadays you go to these Halloween parties, have to dress up, and they're pissed because these people didn't dress up. But
Right.
we were like, no costume, no entry.
Yeah, and we had the beautiful thing is we had the luxury to do that because we could
didn't
pick
give
and
a
choose. Yeah, we didn't, but you just won't see that anymore, Joe. And I miss those days. I really do.
Yeah.
Those days were something that were caught in a dream in so many ways, and I'm grateful. I'm completely grateful all the time because I honestly, the person that I've become today, I'm that was a large part of the development of my attitude and my vision and everything I do with my work now. It just it's such a great foundation, and I've done other clubs after 101 that
Very successful. Yeah.
I appreciate that, and but again, it all goes back to 101. Everything goes back to 101. Everything goes back to 101. I mean, I still have all these posters, and so this is a different story, but after my dad died, I got rid of all the, I had about 500 t-shirts from all the concerts. And after my dad died, I threw all my t-shirts. I had these really expensive suits. I threw all my suits away. I know. I know.
Yeah.
I know. It was just a really rough time for me.
Oh, I understand.
And, but I had to purge myself of what I thought was holding me back to become the person I wanted to be. And that really had no relevance. And I don't even know why I went through that period of that purging. But now that I look back at everything, because I never wore my t-shirts, I was always wearing my 101 t-shirt. So these concert shirts were just pristine because they had never been worn or washed.
We had that guy Sam Turner make these
Halloween
Halloween
that was
shirts.
incredible.
Now, you were talking about shows. Do you remember Dead or Alive playing 101?
I completely remember.
Okay, so he's on stage and he says, okay, how many people out here are gay? Half the crowd, 60, more than. And then, I got feedback from people that would go to 101 or the OP. It's like, why is 101 doing these shows? Why not?
Yeah, why not? You're not doing them.
Yeah.
You're not doing these. I mean, you're concentrating on these local setups, which is fine. I mean, there's nothing.
We were about everybody. And
then, completely.
And then we had the club behind 101 called E9, which you beautiful. But I remember we decided we're going to do the green room. And you're like, okay, give me a budget. You go and get all this material, and you made this place look beautiful.
Yeah. So
that was
looking back at everything, you guys, as much as I wanted to do things with Club 101 and these other places, I mean, you could have easily said, no, we're not going to give you a budget. Go back and do whatever you're doing, but we're not going to give you a budget. But that's part of so I think between both of us, or all three of us, Lucinda, yourself, and myself, we were a great combination of visionaries, because you believed in what passion I had for the bit, and I had a lot of passion.
Yeah.
I mean, I was completely, I would live and breathe 101 like day and night, and everybody's like, why do you do this? But for me, not only was it what we had created, but it was the people, it was the staff. Everything was just so perfect. It was the perfect setting for everything in my life, and I couldn't complain about anything. So I didn't mind living in. I used to only get like 3-4 hours of sleep, and I was right back at the club in the morning because I had to be there for the cleaning crews and for the restocking, and some of the bartenders or the bar staff were like, where do you get all this energy? Like, what time did you go to sleep? But again, it was just that I was just so excited to be there.
Yeah, and you
all
kept the
time.
staff up because there was always new bars that were coming in, and I know they were people coming in trying to poach them and stuff like that, and they hung in there. Like there was a time where 101 was, but then people came back to us,
Right,
because they followed you.
right. Well, they followed us.
Yeah.
You.
And then,
I mean,
so we
don't
had
sell yourself short because
Yeah.
you're a big part of the.
So we had Club 101, and we were doing concerts. And so we had this old elevator that we would have to put the stages down and then turn it back to club. So we took on another warehouse, and the electronic music coming. So we were before the EDM movement. We decided, okay, we're going to call it Area 51.
Right.
And you built this DJ booth, was a spaceship.
It was a huge UFO, probably about 30 feet in diameter. And I remember
the alien.
the alien. Yeah, I had this guy from Juarez. He would come and work on. So the alien was 20 feet tall, with a rotating head. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
With the laser eyes. And then I had about 8 life-size aliens that looked like they were crawling on the wall. And then we had
There was nothing like it.
nothing at all.
And, it was doing so well. It was taking from other clubs, but it was hurting 101 too, because
And
it was
felt
so
bad
on
about
the
that.
cutting edge.
I think that's about the only time that I really felt tension, because I was never trying to hurt 101.
No,
like,
no,
ever.
no. But it was,
And at the end of the day, everything was for 101.
and it worked well because it was our concert hall. So we were able to bring bigger shows over there. And then once the show was over, they could come to 101. And we started dabbling with Texas country. And I can't remember the name of the artist, but he walked there and saw the alien. He did a song about it.
Did he really?
Yeah,
I didn't know
and
that.
I'll remember it as soon as we leave. But yeah, that was a famous time in our, for a couple of years.
Joe, so I don't know if you remember a lot of the staff with Area 51. The big, every time I was interviewing people, I had to make sure they understood that they had no rights.
You had them doing a lot of stuff. That was
Yeah.
great. That was part of it.
That was completely part of it. And it was so exciting because people just wanted to be part of the club. I mean, at some point, there was a lot of staff that just said, you know what, I don't care to get paid. I just want to be here. I want people to see that I work here.
Yeah.
So to me, that was like, okay, great, because that doesn't take any money out of the budget of what, we could do in the future.
Yeah.
So a lot of the staff, I mean, I had about maybe 15 people that just were not being paid because they wanted to be part of the club.
To me, it reminds me of Studio 54. I mean, that's New York. They had a $25 cover charge. They had where they could do the elaborate stuff. We were working on, we're at El
Budgets.
Paso.
Yeah, we were working we
couldn't get more than $5.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
And we had I don't know if you remember I would paint some of the dancers.
Oh, yeah.
And they would completely be nude, but
Yeah.
you couldn't see them nude.
Right.
All you could see was the parts of their body that I painted. So I would put them in dark spots in the club with black lights, and that's all you could see in those areas. And we had guys walking around that were drag queens, selling shots. My girlfriend at the time, Jessica, I put her in a really
The black tape, the electrical tape.
electrical tape on her, not directly on her breast, but on her chest. And then I wrapped her in cellophane. I did her hair kind of crazy. She looked like Tina Turner at some point, but
It was great.
she would go around selling shots, and it was such a great atmosphere. I mean, we had a beautiful front door girl. Her name was Liz, which sometimes people would just go to see her because, do you remember her?
Yeah,
Liz Gonzalez?
that all those attention to details. The front door person is the first impression, the last impression.
Right.
And some of these places, like at 2:00, bouncers were like, "Oh, everybody get the fuck out of here." We never did that.
Yeah, never. I
We
mean,
were hugging people. We didn't.
nobody wanted to leave at the end of the night. I mean, everybody that stayed really authentically wanted to stay.
Yeah.
And we felt bad kicking people out because we're like, this sucks. I wish we could stay open a little bit. So we kind of extended the hours sometimes when we saw there was just too many people, but we didn't serve after that time.
But we built that such loyalty. I mean, there was lots of new places coming at us, but we kept that loyalty. They came back to us. They could have easily said, you know what?
We were the first ones to start patio, like a patio setup where people could go outside and decompress from the inside. I mean, there was just so many options that people had. And I think that's what allowed people to come back, because they felt they would fit in either way. We were not an unapproachable business. We were definitely something that was set up and created that anybody could come and fit in, and they wouldn't feel like they were out of place. That's why I said earlier, even the suits, people that were in suits and would just come. And I mean, the odd thing is that if and I know you remember, we never had anywhere for anyone to sit.
No.
It was standing room only. Yeah. You just don't see that these days.
Yeah, to me, the music was the dress code. There's just certain places play a certain type of music, and something's gonna happen. But it was just people wanted to be there.
Yeah, completely.
And it was all the people, the bar staff, everybody.
But in the end, I think the people that have the memories of the old 101, it was just such a mystical time for all those people that experienced it, because and I'm going to cross-reference like whoever experienced 54.
Yeah.
It's similar in that whole setup. And so you had opened up in 89, right? Is that?
Yep, December 30th, 1989.
And then when the city finally closed up the streets and kind of cut off the arteries, when was that?
2003 or 4.
Wow.
And then the 101 that went to Mesa, to me, that was like the new Coke of 101. It was not.
Right.
It's like Studio 54 going to Las Vegas, it was like not the original.
Right. Yeah, no, I completely get it. And as I come into the area every time, I
was going to ask you,
I reminisce about the lines. We had the hour to hour and a half line for people to get in. I have a lot of memories, but I'm just going to say that, and it's kind of a selfish memory, by the way.
Okay.
But I have one memory that's just going to stick with me forever, and that is the night I got shot.
Oh, yeah.
The night I got shot at Club 101. I don't know if you remember what was going on.
Yeah, there was a street festival, the Oyster Festival. There was people wanting to, there's a club down there. That wasn't our regulars. It was just some
it was
people that
they were like
they were under the bridge,
Right. They were trying to find their parking. Yeah. But anyways, the street festival was going on. Back in the days of 101, the beautiful thing is that we never had, at those times, we did not have any security. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
We had the one guy that would drive up in his car that was painted with different layers of latex paint.
Madison.
Do you remember that guy?
Yeah.
So this guy had a black and white like Maverick.
I've got stories about him, but anyway.
He would paint his car with different coats of paint, or everything was black and white themed. Right. And I feel that got started also because he loved going to 101.
Yeah.
I mean, he would really just be security so he can pick up a chick and take her home that night. That was his big.
Yeah, but he was loyal to 101.
He was very loyal.
There's some stories maybe I'll tell later. I don't know. Anyway,
we can go on forever about all the stories.
So that was the unfortunate thing, because you just walked out. We had kicked those people out. They were under the bridge.
Yeah,
and
so
they started
what
shooting.
What happened was those guys started beating people up in the line that were waiting to come into 101. And since we didn't have security, a lot of our loyal customers went outside to. This is when I was a floor walker, so I was a floor walker at the time.
Yeah.
So I'd seen all these people running out of the front door with cups and bottles, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm gonna lose my job.
You were in the middle of the street. We're behind cars.
No, so I go out the first time, and I start grabbing people's drinks and I take them inside. Yeah. So. And I dump everything. And by this time, a lot of people are inside, but a lot of people are outside. So I come out the front door, which comes onto San Francisco Street. That was the original entrance to 101, and eventually it moved to the side. But I came out and I see all these people on the floor. Keep in mind, I'm directly in front. I had just maybe 2 steps out of the front door. So I crouch. Oh, no, I come outside and I'm like, oh, my God, what's going on? You know, everybody fell at the same time.
Yeah.
Like I'm in my head, I'm thinking to myself, what's going on? Because
you walked into the street.
No, I stayed right by the front door.
Okay.
And I'm like, and some girl goes, duck, he's got a gun.
Yeah.
So I'm looking around and I start looking and I finally face the
Tunnel.
bridge.
Yeah, bridge, yeah.
And I see the sparks coming out of the gun.
Yeah, that's the first time I ever saw something like that.
Yeah. So I crouched and then I started like kind of wobbling to jump back through the front door. When I finally got up and leapt through the door, I was like, oh, cool, I made it.
Yeah.
But then I'm talking to Chris and I'm talking to some of the other people. And I start feeling like warm butter, like the feeling of warm butter coming down my leg. And all I can think of is somebody lit my pants on fire, you know? So I go like this. I kind of look down at my hand and I see all the blood.
Yeah. And somebody's like, oh, they shot Eddie. He's dead. I mean, they grabbed you and they took you into the back storage.
Yeah. So when I felt that, when I saw the blood, I went into shock. I remember I started breathing hard because I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to die, you know?
Yeah.
So right away I kind of collapsed. I remember I collapsed because I don't remember anything after that.
Yeah.
So in the process, I could feel them because they bumped me a couple of times, like taking me back into the liquor room. And then I hear this guy he goes, take off his pants. They shot him in the ass. So I'm like,
it's not funny now.
In my head, I'm thinking to myself, no, it's not in my,
yeah.
You know? And because the way they were carrying me, all the blood kind of settled at my butt or whatever.
Yeah.
And after that, I just blanked out. I don't remember anything.
Oh my God, Eddie's dead. I mean, you were so loved. Everybody was freaking out. It was crazy. And, you know, you mentioned Octavio, and he was able to catch one of those guys. And, you know, that was the original front door. And then we changed it to the other side.
To the side. Well,
yeah. And
do you remember?
Yeah.
The only reason we changed it was because we had to expand the club because we didn't have any more room.
We had a payphone in the original, a payphone. But, you know, it was all about the music. And really, you know, there's places, you know, big clubs that have 30 bouncers, whatever. We didn't really, everybody knew each other. But if something happened, our regulars jumped in.
Yeah, like, they completely did.
We're going to stop this fight.
You would never see that.
No,
People don't like to get involved.
Yeah. I mean,
but they were protecting that nest.
Yeah.
It was a nest.
Yeah, I remember these 2 girls fighting, pulling hair, and we just put them outside. Oh, that was my boyfriend of 8th grade. I'm like, oh, you're an adult. So we're like, okay, you guys got to go separate and go home.
Right.
And we got security after that. Yeah, that was a real unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, that was a very selfish memory. I mean, I have a ton of memories.
Oh, we're going to have you come back and
I'd love to, Joe. I'd love to have you get me back here so we can talk about this.
Yeah, because I had a favorite story of yours. I don't know. It's just, you know, I'm a huge Prince fan, but I was just kind of like a level of this. And then Eddie was like this Prince fan. And, you know, Prince could wear anything he wanted to and play anything. He was so attitude. And you got me the black CD. And, you know, we had the Prince parties and stuff like that. So you're a huge influence on me. But you were very popular there. And I just remember the place was rocking. It was such a great time. I was talking to these 2 hot...
Eddie's dead.
No, not that time. This is another time. So I was at the bar, and there was these 2 beautiful women, and I'm talking to them, and, you know, they weren't really... And then you come up, and they're like, oh, Eddie. And then this girl's like, you know, I really have a crush on you, but can I ask you a question? And she's like, what? Are you gay or are you straight? And you're like, honey, I'll be whatever you want to be. And you just pushed her, and you walked away, and she was just like... And I was like, that is fucking attitude. It was awesome.
It was a constant question.
People loved you, you know?
Yeah. It's good to keep people guessing.
Yeah, that's what you said. You said, keep them guessing. And
Yeah,
I
and
think that's what,
they'll never leave your mind. If you keep them guessing,
yeah.
they'll never leave your mind.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you were talking earlier about that you had the hottest girlfriends. I mean, that you had that girl dress up. What was her name? She's
Jessica.
Yeah. Yeah. And they love being a part of what you created.
So many people had a great time.
Yeah.
You know, and again, I'm very grateful. I don't think I've ever had a chance to really tell you, but you were just a visionary, and I think I complimented what you did, and then we both rose in the occasion.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody take care of people like you did. You know, before the show, we went to eat, and you ran into somebody, and you just like, you gave this person a hug. He was with his mother. You've always been that way. That's awesome. That's what I love about you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So before we leave, I mean, you know, you're doing interior design. I mean, what are you doing? And
yeah, I'm an interior designer now. I concentrate a lot of on residential work, but I've done a lot of commercial. You know, I've done a lot of restaurants. I've done a lot of nightclubs.
Oh,
after 101.
I would like to. I would go just on just because I wanted to see your work.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a fan.
And again, you know, I'm grateful to those people that took a chance on me as well. Yeah, so I'm keeping busy. I network a lot with a lot of furniture companies, and they get me a lot of work, and they've seen my work, so they recommend me a lot. A lot of my work comes from word of mouth.
How do people get a hold of you if they want to get interior work done?
I'm on Instagram under Eddie Alcala, or I've just recently started rebranding myself. I have a YouTube channel under Eclectic Eddie, and I also have an Instagram, but it's very brand new, so I'm still developing it. But Eclectic Eddie is like the rebranding of my work, because I've extended a lot of my applications and a lot of what I do into what's going to happen with this rebranding. And it's unfortunate that I didn't do this before, because I've done so much stuff that I could have easily had tons of content to be able to, but it's never too late to start. You know, I'm going to take this, and I'm going to take it to see how far it goes. But I'm concentrating a lot on myself and on my interior design and my channels, you know, my YouTube and my Instagram. I have a Twitter, but I haven't really used it that much. And also on my Pinterest. So everything is Eclectic Eddie.
I think people are going to freak out that they saw Eddie and Joe together. I mean,
yeah, a lot of people.
That's great.
Keep them guessing.
That's right. Well, it's so good. It's so good. And I hope that we can definitely have you back, because it would be great to bring some of those players that you know. Yeah,
definitely.
Come in.
But I want to be here for you, and
likewise.
So
I love you, man.
Just let me know I love you too, and let's see what we can do together and how we can make things grow for each other and go from there.
It's all about the attitude.
Yes, sir, and it's all about the music.
That's right. And thank you for listening, and stay tuned. We'll be back.
Thank you.